Getting drafted first overall in the NBA is like being handed the keys to a kingdom. You're not just the best player in your class, you're the chosen one, the savior, the future of an entire franchise. But what happens when that future collapses and the player meant to save a city becomes the reason it gives up hope? We're talking about top picks who didn't just miss expectations, they crashed through them, face first, leaving behind broken promises, angry fan bases, and careers that never even took off. These are the stories of the players who were picked first, but finished last. And trust me, some of these names are going to hurt. And we're kicking off this list with the man who became a punchline before he even got a proper chance, Kwame Brown.
With the first pick in the 2001 NBA Draft, the Washington Wizards select Kwame Brown from Lynn Academy, Brunswick, Georgia.
Kwame Brown was supposed to be the future. I mean, he was picked straight out of high school, 6 foot 11 inches tall with a grown man's build and sky-high potential. He wasn't just the first overall pick of the 2001 draft, he was Michael Jordan's hand-picked prodigy. But that dream unraveled faster than anyone expected. So Kwame walked into the NBA as a teenager and into a locker room run by a 38-year-old MJ who had no time, patience, or tolerance for rookie mistakes. What followed wasn't mentorship, it was humiliation. Jordan ripped into him, called him soft, shattered his confidence, and dared him to survive. And Kwame never truly recovered. In his NBA career over 12 seasons, he bounced between 7 teams, averaging just 6.6 points a game and 5.5 rebounds per game. Now, are these the worst numbers you've ever seen? No, but when you're the first pick in a draft that includes Pau Gasol, Tony Parker, and Joe Johnson, not the worst becomes inexcusable. Kwame wasn't just a bust, he became the punchline, the cautionary tale, the player people point to when they say never trust a high school pick. But here's the thing, maybe Kwame's biggest failure wasn't on the court. Maybe it was that no one ever gave him the space to grow. Not the Wizards, not the fans, and definitely not the man who drafted him. Kwame might have been the first to wear the bust label loud enough for the whole league to hear, but at least people knew who he was. Anthony Bennett, on the other hand, had everyone shocked.
With the first pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett of Toronto, Canada, and the University of Nevada.
You could hear the confusion echo through the Barclays Center when Anthony got drafted because no one expected it. Not the analysts, not the fans, not even Bennett himself. Anthony Bennett wasn't projected to go top 3, and I'm pretty sure some boards didn't even have him in the top 10. But with the first pick in the 2013 NBA Draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers shocked the world and made what might be the most baffling top pick decision of all time. The results were a disaster from day one. In his debut game, Bennett was 0 for 5 from the field. It took him 4 games to score a single basket, and by the end of his rookie season, he averaged just 4.2 points per game, the lowest ever by a number 1 pick. The Cavs gave up on him in year 1, but the Timberwolves picked him up and tried also, then gave up on him too. In 4 seasons, he played for 4 different teams, and then, just like that, he was out of the league before turning 24. Meanwhile, the 2013 draft also gave us Giannis Antetokounmpo, and look where he is now. A 2-time MVP, NBA champion, and future Hall of Famer. Cleveland could have had that. Instead, they chose a player who would become the face of draft busts forever. Now, missing on a pick because the talent never showed up is one thing, but what if, like in Greg Oden's case, the talent was there, but the body couldn't keep up? It just becomes heartbreaking.
The first pick in the 2007 NBA Draft, the Portland Trail Blazers select Greg Oden from Ohio State University.
Greg Oden was built like a champion. I'm talking 7 feet tall. I mean, he looked like a prototype, the kind of player you win rings with, the kind of center you build dynasties around. And the Portland Trail Blazers believed it. With the number 1 pick in 2007, they passed on a skinny one-position scorer named Kevin Durant and put all their faith in Oden. It made sense. Until it didn't. Oden had knee surgery before playing an NBA game, making him miss his entire rookie season. But people were hopeful that the talent was still in there, and it sure was. When he finally stepped onto the court, he showed flashes, a double-double here, a monster block there, but his knees just kept breaking down. Every time he got going, they gave out. Across 7 seasons, Greg Oden played just 105 total games. He averaged 8 points and 6 rebounds, barely enough time to prove anything. Meanwhile, Durant became a league MVP, a 4-time scoring champion, and 2-time NBA champion. The Blazers had already lived this nightmare once in 1984, when they picked Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan, and somehow it happened again. Greg Oden, though, wasn't lazy. He wasn't overhyped. He just couldn't stay healthy, and sometimes that's all it takes to go from legend to footnote in the NBA. Now, you see, Oden's story was a tragedy written by fate, but this next one reads like a comedy of errors, which leaves a franchise haunted and a fan base embarrassed. Let's talk Michael Olowokandi. In 1998, the Los Angeles Clippers had a rare opportunity. The number 1 pick in a draft overflowing with Hall of Fame level talent. Finally, they had a chance to turn their cursed history into something worth believing in.
Growing up in England, I thought if you could run and jump and dunk the ball, that's what you needed to be a basketball player.
They used that number 1 pick for Michael Olowokandi, a 7-foot center from the University of the Pacific. He hadn't grown up around basketball, hadn't played against elite competition, and wasn't even projected to crack the top 5 by most expert accounts. Still, somehow the Clippers convinced themselves they had discovered the next big man. From the moment he stepped on an NBA court, that decision looked worse by the day. Yes, Olowokandi had the tools, height, wingspan, and mobility, but he didn't have the touch, footwork, instincts, or drive. He looked uncomfortable in the post, clumsy on the boards, and uninterested in becoming the physical presence a 7-footer is expected to be. I mean, the records don't lie. He averaged just 8.3 points and 6.8 rebounds per game. Underwhelming numbers made even more unbearable when you remember who the Clippers passed on. Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce, and Vince Carter, 3 future Hall of Famers. By the end of his career, the only thing people remembered about Olowokandi was how quickly they forgot he ever played. And just when you think you've seen enough unfortunate circumstances, Markelle Fultz walks in and says, "Hold my beer."
With the first pick in the 2017 NBA Draft, the Philadelphia 76ers select Markelle Fultz from the University of Washington.
He was supposed to be the missing piece, the final puzzle piece that would complete a rising dynasty in Philadelphia. And he was a smooth, confident scoring guard with size, vision, and a jumper so clean it looked engineered in a lab. When the Sixers traded up to select Markelle Fultz with the number 1 pick in 2017, they thought they were locking in the future, a deadly trio of Fultz, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons that would terrorize the Eastern Conference for the next decade. But what happened next wasn't just a disappointment, it was one of the strangest collapses in NBA draft history. Somewhere between draft night and his NBA debut, the shot, the very thing that made Fultz elite, vanished. It was like his muscle memory got wiped clean. His free throws looked broken. He hesitated on wide open jumpers. His mechanics changed entirely, and no one could explain why. Philadelphia, a city known for its brutal honesty, watched in disbelief as their top pick forgot how to shoot and slowly faded from their plans. Fultz played just 33 games across 2 seasons before being traded away to Orlando for virtually nothing. Not because he was a lost cause, but because the Sixers couldn't wait any longer. To his credit, he rebuilt his game from the ground up. He reshaped his form, regained some confidence, and earned a starting role with the Magic, averaging about 12 points and 5 assists per game. But when you were drafted ahead of Jason Tatum, De'Aaron Fox, and Donovan Mitchell, being solid isn't good enough. You were expected to be a superstar, not just part of the rebuild, but the reason for it. Markelle Fultz's story isn't over, but the version of him that once lit up college courts, the version the Sixers gambled everything on, that player never showed up. And if Fultz was a mystery wrapped in misfortune, then this next pick was simpler. Andrea Bargnani was a shooter who could score, and not much else. When the Toronto Raptors made Andrea Bargnani the first overall pick in the 2006 NBA Draft, they weren't just making history. They were taking a risk on the unknown 7-foot Italian forward with a smooth shooting touch, international flair, and just enough resemblance to Dirk Nowitzki to convince themselves they found Europe's next great basketball export.
With the first pick in the 2006 NBA Draft, the Toronto Raptors select Andrea Bargnani.
He was supposed to stretch the floor, redefine the center position, and finally bring modern basketball to a franchise that had long been stuck chasing relevance. Instead, what they got was a player who treated rebounding like an optional extra and defense like a rumor he'd only heard about in passing. Yes, Bargnani could score. When the shot was falling, he looked fluid, polished, even promising. But when the jumper disappeared, there was nothing left to lean on. Over 10 seasons, he averaged 14.3 points and 4.6 rebounds. Numbers that sound decent until you remember he was a number 1 pick expected to anchor a franchise, not blend into the background or vanish during crunch time. Bargnani was a scorer who couldn't carry, a big man who couldn't bang, and a number 1 pick whose legacy became a warning sign, not a highlight reel. The number 1 pick is supposed to be a blessing, but as you've just seen, sometimes it's too heavy to carry. Now it's your turn. Who do you think is the biggest number 1 draft bust in NBA history? Did we miss someone who deserves to be on this list? Drop your thoughts in the comment section below and hit that like button if you made it this far. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe as well, because the NBA has no shortage of wild stories and we've got a lot more to tell. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.